And welcome to our Bottom Line Web Extra. Patty, Jim, Preet, and Amanda all here at the table with us. We got a couple of extra questions that we didn't get to on the televised program, so here you are with a Web Extra on Bottom Line. First question comes from Kincardine, Ontario. Thomas Shield. Does the Bottom Line think that the big banks, with their large exposure to mortgages and house-related debts, are presently a good investment for a retirement portfolio? Would you buy bank stocks right now on the perceived cusp of a faltering housing bubble, or would you wait? Patty.
Absolutely, I would buy them right now, and I think they form a bedrock of a retirement portfolio. And actually, right now, they're kind of on sale because over the last couple of months, they've been under downward pressure. But if you look at the Canadian banks, they are well capitalized, they're strongly regulated, and they are prudent lenders. And in addition to that, right now, the average yield, dividend yield on the big five banks is a juicy 4.2%, much higher than interest rates at these levels. So am I worried about the impact of a crash in housing? First of all, I don't think there's going to be a crash. And even if there were, if house prices, say, fell 10%, there would be an impact on banks. Consumers would be more cautious, but not a big impact. So my answer is, short answer, is yes, buy the banks. They're part of your retirement portfolio.
You agree with that, Preet?
Well, listen, full disclosure, I'm an indexer, so I don't pick any individual stocks and try and figure out what's going to do better.
There's a lot of banks in the index.
There are, but I own them all, right? So I don't have to worry about that. But what I would say is, because the banks have such exposure to real estate, if there was a downturn, it probably would be relatively short, maybe 5, 10 years, something like that. You might see some softness, but over the long term, which is how you should always think about an investment portfolio, they're going to continue to be a big part of the economy. And certainly, I wouldn't be against buying banks. But again, I'm an indexer. I don't try to think about these things too much.
Never thought of you as an indexer, but now we will.
He knows so much. That's why he's an indexer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does know a lot. You're really promoting him tonight.
It's true.
Checks in the mail, Jim.
All right, here's your question, Jim. Comes from Vancouver, Bill McGrath. Should the federal government get back into the business of subsidizing housing development for lower-income Canadians, people on social assistance, on disability, and the working poor? Thanks for picking up on this issue. The situation here in Vancouver is desperate.
I'm so glad we got that question, Peter, because, we talk about housing prices and everyone's thinking, well, when should I buy, when should I sell? We often forget a huge number of Canadians don't even have that option, let alone buying a property and getting the down payment. Many of them can't afford even to rent. They estimate that about 15% of Canadians have what's called core housing need. That is to say, they can't buy even a rental or rent a small apartment for less than 30% of their income, and that's obviously worse in a place like Vancouver or Toronto. There's 300,000 Canadians homeless. So I actually think it's a great time to get back into social housing. That includes public housing, NGOs and community housing. Housing co-ops are a very effective form of low-cost housing. Among the benefits, you're obviously helping people who need housing get it, but you're also putting some sort of damper on the house price inflation that you're seeing elsewhere in the real estate market and creating jobs in the construction. So I think it's an excellent idea.
Amanda.
I do think, I'm glad we got the question too, because we can get kind of consumed with this idea of sort of a certain swath that's buying and selling and investing in. We need to support a whole group that can't necessarily own homes. I don't think that direct support for homeownership is the way to go. Federal support for building housing stock that is available to people that can't afford to live in a house is great. If you want if you want to subsidize housing, I believe, and I think economists would back it up, you should do it directly. So vouchers to people rather than giving them a place to live. But we can kind of quibble over how you get there. What we know is that even in our biggest cities, even apartment stock is not what it should be for people that can't afford a home to live in. And then you get into people who have trouble even renting an apartment. So this is a social question. It's not going away. And by the way, it used to be that we had this conversation about, young people, people at the lower elderly people are going to increasingly need this as well. So it's going to be a conversation we're going to have.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
A couple extra questions for this special Bottom Line Web Extra. Hope you enjoyed it.